Welcome to the first adaptation challenge video. I've been thinking about doing this for like a year. But my thing was I wanted to have a book I hadn't read yet and a video I hadn't seen. And there are several, but yet there was also some that I've had one but not the other, and I wanted to get around to it. And here we are, a whole year later. And the first one we're gonna do is the Thursday Murder Club. I finished this last night, thanks in large part to the audio and being able to listen to it on the go and chores and stuff. It was okay. I did end up giving it 3.5 stars. We're following 4 characters mostly, and they're all septuagenarians. They will meet on Thursdays in the Jigsaw Room at Cooper's Chase to have their murder club, but that is not what they call it. You know, of course, they have to call it something else. But you're following Joyce Meadowcroft, who used to be a nurse, Elizabeth Best, who used to be something classified, Ron Ritchie, who was an union leader and fighter of that sort, Ibrahim Arif, who was a psychologist, and various other ones. One of the prominent ones would be the owner, idea man, developer for Cooper's Chase. That would be Ian Vintham. Then you're also following Father Matthew Mackey for several parts as well. Oh, and the cops, Donna something and Chris something. You follow those two as well for several scenes. So you have a variety cast here, and they are all sufficiently different. They all bring something to the table that is some sort of expertise and whatnot. And on the surface, the story is fine. The story is okay. I can't put my finger on why exactly this fell beneath the 4 stars. Maybe it could be the chapter length itself. Most people love short chapters, and in some regards I do, but it's the fact that they were short and you would get this really high chapter number and still be barely into the book. And it made it feel like you were making progress, but yet you barely gotten through the book. I don't know. So it felt slow. It felt slow. I appreciate it, and I really like the way that they looked into the relationships between spouses. Like, most of our main characters have already lost their spouse. And then for some of them, though, well, not for some, but for one of them, she still has her spouse. And then it also looks at other residents of this retirement village and what they have gone through losing their spouse, and just the grief and the way you work through it and the way you hold on to it, or it just stays with you and everything. Like, Joyce is our intermission narrator as she's keeping a diary of the case that they're on. And she mentions how she can barely bring up her husband because it, makes her start to tear up and stuff. You understand that, and I feel like that was really well done. And the way also that it talks about a few of them's relationship with their children. Like, Joyce has her daughter Joanna that she talks about, and then Ron has his son Jason, who actually you do see from Jason a few times and is more prominent character of the book. The story itself, though, is following these septuagenarians as they were solving cold cases, and there's a meeting that's come up at the retirement village where they're wanting to expand. And a little bit after said meeting, the lead contractor developer is found murdered. He was not the one I was expecting to die first, just so we're clear. And thus they are determined to figure out what happened, because it's kind of directly related to them, right? Yeah. My microphone is on like its low battery, so hopefully it doesn't cut off on me. And that, it was very interesting in the way they worked at them. Some of the things were done by favors from like her old life, Elizabeth's old life. And at this age, and if they've kept calling in favors for other cases and stuff, which I don't think so, because they weren't like current cases or anything. How many favors does she have left? Because they're on like book 5. So how are we going to keep working this angle? How the story played out, though, the mystery played out, it kind of kept leading you on. We kept not figuring out things really, or kept chasing things in a different direction. And then towards the last 25% of the book, it kind of falls into your lap, I guess. Maybe that's why it fell below the 4 stars. It's just the way in which you found out everything, or it was just like a jump to kind of a situation. And that was after everything that they'd gone through to find out, their dead ends, that it got there. I wish there was more to say about it. I should have more to say about it at this point. I don't know right now. Obviously, my brain is getting fried. We're going to watch the movie, though. Probably not today, but I'm going to come back and update you after I watch the movie.
Who is us? I'm sorry, how rude of me. We're the Thursday Murder Club.
We all know that adaptations are like never faithful. Never really faithful. There's always something that's going to be changed. Sometimes it's for the better. Sometimes it's to the detriment of the story. And where did this one fall? I was greatly annoyed with this movie. I was so annoyed with this movie. And it's not even on like a big scale, like some of it maybe, but it's the little things that they changed that right from the beginning, it was the little things that were starting to bother me. And I'm like, it didn't even make any sense why some of these details were changed. I'm not really going to go into spoilers, but there will be slight details that you might be like, what? Because you won't understand if you haven't read the book or seen the movie, but it won't overall spoil things. The things that I did love, I like the cast. All the actors are great actors on their own, and they did fine in the movie. They did wonderfully. 3 things that I loved. It made me laugh a few times. There was a few giggles. And the ending, not the ending itself, but the movie ending, it did actually, wrap up cohesively. And we'll get to that as I've taken a day to kind of think about this. So there will be something that doesn't fall into the like or dislike after that point. So we'll come back kind of to that. The things, though, that did not work about this movie were all the tiny, tiny changes that did not make sense. They changed Bogdan's whole backstory line.
My mother is very sick back in Poland and...
About how he's in England, unless that comes up in later books. But mostly, they changed his motivations for everything. About why he took the job there, why all the pieces. So pretty much Bogdan's whole storyline changed, and it didn't need to be changed. It didn't make sense. Then there's the photo. The photo is the biggest thing that it was actually the first thing. I mean, we had heard part of Bogdan's story changing already, but in the photo, there's supposed to be 3 people. And instead, there's 2, but you can kind of see one's arm. And so it's a big deal that they identify that arm. And then it creates the controversy thing. Why? Just have all 3 of them in the picture. And then, you try to contact them. Okay, yeah, sure. I take pictures with lots of people. That line was still in the movie, interestingly enough. But it made it seem all more shady about it. For no reason. Then there was Elizabeth and Joyce. 2 of our main characters. Part of the Thursday Murder Club. And yes, Elizabeth started the Thursday Murder Club with her best friend Penny and invited the others. But why was she so standoffish to Joyce through the entire movie?
We would like you to join us, but on a temporary basis.
Why? She recruited Joyce. She never was like interim thing. You're a full member. Was it standoffish as like, oh no, you're just temporary? As like she's thinking Penny's going to come back. No, she knows. She knows, and she's okay with still bringing in another person. And in the book, at least to me, it seemed like Elizabeth was more than happy to become Joyce's friend. Take Joyce into the fold. No, in the movie, though, she's very standoffish about Joyce. And several of the scenes that Elizabeth and Joyce should have had together, they didn't in the movie now. Or it was a little bit different. And she talks down to Joyce in the movie, it seems.
Indeed, Joyce, what a clever daughter you somehow have.
Or belittles Joyce in the movie for no reason. So I'm starting to actually think this morning and stuff that I think the screenwriters just did not like Joyce's character at all. Because in the book, Joyce is kind of our narrator. You have intermission chapters where Joyce is catching you up on things in her diary. That is, kind of like a case log for the Thursday Murder Club. It's written by Joyce. No, it's mostly an Elizabeth story in the movie.
Who do you think you are, the head of MI5?
Which is another thing. I feel like we did not get the connection to the characters as much as we might could have. There wasn't enough depth portrayed, which is a weird thing when normally you can see the actors and see their emotions and see them bringing this to life. And these are all incredible actors, so how is it that I am not feeling that? Then our police characters, both of them were not quite how they were written either. Chris, instead of being kind of more of a bumbling detective, he was decent at his job and worried about this case, but also very self-conscious about himself and not thinking he could change, really. We're always planning to change tomorrow. In this one, he was completely different than in the book. He was respectful to the Thursday Murder Club. And in this one, he got angry and actually yelled at the old people.
Police work is off limits to anyone who isn't the police.
And told them they were getting in the way. I mean, fair. You're police. You're trying to do your job. But to completely change his character like that, and where Donna was not seeming her confident self that she was in the book. And Donna also did not seem to be putting the pieces together on her own. It was always, Elizabeth told me.
I'd run a check on those bones if I were you. Could be significant.
Okay.
while yes, Elizabeth did give her information, Donna was also putting some pieces together on her own. And you did not get to see Donna's ability at her own job. Whole bits of stories, you did not get the connection to the characters or their story depth, which, if it was a slightly shorter movie, I could understand that. But instead, we're 2 hours. I don't know. Okay, the parts that wouldn't fall into the love it or the don't love it would be that some of the storyline was just completely nixed, which I understand because they were kind of misleading bits to this story, like where they were following clues to red herrings or following wrong leads that didn't end up being the culprits. That's understandable. But for one of the things that was an important storyline that did end up being, one of the culprit things, it seemed even more sudden than it did in the book. There wasn't enough depth given to it to where my other half that did not read any context in it, he's like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would this happen? Because we hadn't gotten enough details and information to care about that part. And then, and the florist detail. The florist. What? Why? Why? No. But yet again, it had to be the Elizabeth story. It seems that we had to have Elizabeth find this. Elizabeth, go track this down. Elizabeth, put pressure on this. Elizabeth, tell Joanna to buy Cooper's Chase. I don't remember what category this was supposed to be in that I'd said earlier, then I completely forgot to actually mention it. It's not, I guess, in the love or hate, it's in the more that I kind of understand why they did this decision. So there was the pivotal thing, that they found out who committed the murders. And in the movie, the different decision was made than the book, which I can understand, kind of. And it also does kind of make me understand why they gave, not saying who it was, a different motive. Because I guess it's making it more relatable. Okay, you could relate to the person doing it for that reason. Whereas in the book, you could relate to it too, but it does give them a different level. Because revenge is a different level of understanding of a person and stuff. And that person was treated differently in the book. Should I say, I guess, because it doesn't make sense if I talk around it. In the book, they didn't turn him in. They were just kind of okay with it. I mean, not okay with it, which that makes them sound bad. That does make it sound bad. What happened with the other person, it did happen in the movie and the book. And so it's like, why? Why would you tell the police about this one and not this one? Like, it doesn't make any sense, especially because you're like, they did this one for love. Okay, so there's just that. I mean, I can understand why the movie screenplay writers, why they made that decision. It makes them seem more consistent in their decision making. It also, I guess they're morally in the right. Though the extreme that, she jumped to in the movie, she immediately thought the person was going to hurt her person. No trust there at all. And then she said, of course she wouldn't do it. Then why'd you have all the police swoop in, thought he was being poisoned? It logically, that doesn't make sense. We shouldn't have gone to such an extreme. But I do get, because people would question the morality of our senior citizens. So, like a 2 out of 5? I don't know. That sounds a little too harsh, maybe. And I rambled on about this in more sense than I probably should have, especially considering I didn't give a depth to any of this, like maybe I should have. Also, I'm not good at movie reviews. Have you read the book? Seen the adaptation? Where did your thoughts fall on these? Or if it's only one or the other, or neither, I'd love to know your opinions. Either way, I hope you're having a great day, finding something good to read. You'll subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you in the next one.